and the pace of the technology is changing. Like Someleze, Mr. Diko now at the moment, the technology that he has learned, it's something that's self-taught, and it's the market of it is close to 22 billion. So he tapping into such market where he's able now to earn in pound. That's so exciting. So that's the things that I wanted to achieve, to say, like, you are at university, you are learning what you learned, but it's limited. And how do you start to learn different skills? He will tell you that he did different events. We came there at MUT, he did an event there, he spoke there. So it was him now getting out of only not focusing on his academic, but then do beyond academic. So that was my mission from the beginning, to empower them to think beyond just you sitting in class and doing your thing, do other things. And him being able to do that from 2018 until 2020, where we even got a project, a very big project. Duty invested close to 300,000 into that project, and him learning around to say, okay, we got this real project. How do you start to learn developing using this new technology called Power Platform? Then he dedicated his time there. And 2 years later, what happened is the skill that he have acquired since 2018, where he was doing presentations, where I was taking him to different platforms like MU2 to come and motivate, and now assigning him a project, a big project, real project at DUT, and him doing and being passionate around that technology. It has made the person that he is today. And this year I was so happy when he told me that he got a job in the Microsoft UK, but at the moment it's remote, he can go. And he was even talking about fixing his visa. There's an event in London, in UK, that he has to go and attend. So it's so nice that when you take someone who was just a mere student and take him, now we talk international, to say, hey, your visa is out. When is it out? When are you going there? So by the end of this year, maybe we'll go into the US. He will travel all this world. So he will share more of his story. But him being here, it's a proof of what we will try to achieve with Dr. Peter there at MUT, because we want to create more of Someleze. We brought him today here for you to start to produce more of himself. So I'm excited. Thank you, Doc, for this. It really means a lot. And I hope that a lot of students, by the time they leave here, they would be inspired. They will be heard about this technology called a Power Platform. And the person who work with it every day, who's a part and parcel of the team that are advocating at Microsoft, is here. And it's a great privilege. Thank you so much, Doc.
Right. Thanks a lot. I wouldn't want to waste much time. I think we can go straight into the main meal, so to speak. Mr. Diko, are you ready for us?
Yes, I'm ready. Good morning, everyone.
Over to you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to come and speak to everyone today. It's really an honor. And just like Mr. Ndlovu has said, it's more of what is always our goal and our dream, to actually achieve getting people into these different roles in these big tech companies all over the world, so that we can be able to have, for an example, normally the phrase that Mr. Ndlovu would use whenever we are doing events to inspire students around campuses is, we want the next Bill Gates to actually come from South Africa, not even just in the suburban areas, but also in the places where there is a lot of Black people and Black students, which are townships, for an example. So without wasting any more time, let me introduce myself, even though Mr. Ndlovu has already introduced me. So my name is Someleze Diko. I am a cloud advocate at Microsoft in London. So currently I'm working remote. So I'm a cloud advocate for the Power Platform. So my job is to actually introduce students and educators with the Power Platform so that they can be able to upskill their students, or students can be able to build business applications and gain the necessary skills. Obviously, with this role, as much as we advocate for people to use the Power Platform, we also help with making the Power Platform even much better. So working close hand in hand with the product group. So in this case, it would be like an engineering team that actually develops the entire Power Platform. So my journey is more of a very weird story, to be honest. What I started off as, I was a learner from a very small town that is in the Eastern Cape called Mount Frey. And in my school, we never did anything that has to do with IT. We just did CAT. So I think most people are familiar with CAT, where we were just doing Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Access. So when I came to DUT, it was a new journey for me, a new start where I was hearing that I got accepted for applications development, but I didn't really know what it was. But I was really happy and really pleased with the matter of fact that I was able to get an opportunity to start in a university since I come from a very small town. Then when I got to DT, obviously I dedicated my time to learning about IT, learning about programming, because I've seen people who had the advantage of being in a high school that actually did programming. So I leaned on my friends who actually were familiar with programming. They helped me out. I was able to gain any programming skills that I really needed. So in this case, we were just using C Sharp. But as much as I was doing all of those learning for academic purposes, like Mr. Ndlovu said, when he had his tutorial back in 2018, I was the only person or only student in my class that actually went for the tutorial. The reason was because I was hungry for knowledge and because obviously the experience that I had was that I don't know anything that has to do with programming. So let me take this opportunity to further my knowledge and see what it actually does for me. So being the only person in the tutorial class helped me to actually connect with Mr. Ndlovu. And mostly we left the tutorial venue and we just went to the computer labs where he was saying, I have an event on Saturday. I would like for you to come and join. I'll give you the link to register if you want. Obviously, I was like, he has an event and he's doing something. And at the time, it was not even about any Microsoft technology. At the time, he was doing Google events. So I was like, let me attend this event and see what's going on there because I want to learn more. So normally we would most of the time as youngsters we would not want to sacrifice our Saturdays because there are our off times. But I was like to myself, what's an hour or 2 hour being there to actually gain more knowledge on what we're not being taught within our university or within our academics. So we spoke about cloud computing in that event, and I was really intrigued. When I got into the event, I ended up being in those events over and over again for I think for like about 5 times. And then I then asked Fanny to actually volunteer in one of those events in terms of organizing because I could see the vision he was trying to portray to students within the campus. So from there, I just expanded my knowledge with the Google Cloud platform, understanding, doing all of these different kinds of solutions and applications, just using that technology because obviously I want to gain more knowledge. Even though we actually understand that unemployment in our country is very big, and most of the time we do get our qualifications, but as graduates, what ends up happening is that we all the same at the end of the day. So I wanted something that's going to make me stand out whenever I'm doing job interviews or get job opportunities where I have to actually say, okay, apart from getting this qualification, what I did was also attend events that have to do with Google Cloud computing. So in that sense, they can see that I went a step further, which is one of the advantages that I actually will talk about at a later stage during my presentation. And then from that journey of organizing events with Mr. Ndlovu, doing all of those Google Cloud Platforms events with him, we then obviously switched over to actually learn all of the other different things. So forgive me if I'm going to be all over the place because we did quite a lot along Mr. Ndlovu because he was really inspired and motivated to actually take students within our university to know all of these different technologies. So we covered things like Google Cloud Platform, and then we ventured into Microsoft Azure, and then we ventured into, I think at some point we ended up trying to do an event around blockchain, or we tried to get people who could come with an event that will talk about blockchain. And also business events. I already know that because at that time, Mr. Ndlovu was like, "What are you doing this Saturday again?" And then he said, "Let's go to," I think at the time it was at Gateway Hotel. So there was a summit called I Am an Entrepreneur Summit. Obviously, like Mr. Ndlovu said, he's an entrepreneur. So I followed him everywhere he went because I wanted to gain more knowledge, more skills, because I already understood. So the reason why I did all of this is because when I was going back home and visited my old high school, is that when I spoke about doing the qualification that I was doing, which is in IT, it was more in a sense looked down upon, saying that there's no jobs there. Everyone is doing IT. It's easier to get into IT, but it's harder for people to get jobs. So that made me get worried more and more and more. That ended up motivating me to actually go with Mr. Ndlovu everywhere he went so that I can get every little bit of knowledge and be able to talk about it whenever I get job opportunities. So fast forward to 2019 and 2020, I ended up involving myself in terms of events. So before 2020, which is that would be 2019, we did one event with MUT. I remember we actually came to the computer labs day and we were teaching about Microsoft Azure and Azure Cognitive Services. So in terms of trying to show people how to build AI solutions and showing them how they can use computer vision, facial recognition in their applications. So whenever people would have the self-doubt on, okay, I get the matter of fact that you are teaching us all of these things, but where will we use them? Because even on campus, we're not using those things and they're not talking about these things. So where will we use them? So my talking point all the time was to actually go to tell them that you can actually incorporate this in your third year projects, for an example. And the reason why I said that is because based on the experience that I've had with my third year project or second year project was that they would ask us to actually do our projects, give us and say, this is the knowledge you already have from us, which is C# and .NET, but you are free to add more technologies. So that means the more technologies that you put into your system or your application and its functionality is actually seen, the more marks you would get. Obviously, it was not going for marks, but it was more going on showing our lecturers that we are able to actually go out there, find new knowledge, find new technology, and find a way to use it with what we are being taught within our university. So that's what I would go to whenever I tell people. So we did that one event. I think Mr. Sandile Mahlawa was there and Go Digital SA Foundation was there. And then fast forward to 2020, I was pushed again. Well, it was more of an ask from Mr. Ndlovu where he asked me to join the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program. So at the time it was called Microsoft Student Partners. I had self-doubt in saying that I probably won't be able to get into the program. So at the time there was like 5 student partners within the country, and we wanted to get more South Africans, more people from our country, from our communities to actually be part of that program because it gives you the opportunity to get more knowledge, to get more experience with the technologies that Microsoft has to offer. Also, besides the experience with the technologies, you have the experience to actually work with other people from different parts of the world, and it will show you that you are able to be part of something bigger, which is one of the advantages you could use when you are going to a job interview, for an example. So from there, what we did is that I ended up being part of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program. And then from there, Mr. Ndlovu was like, okay, Mr. Digo, here's what I have for you. Enactus DUT is trying to do this. So can you please build an app for them because they need an app. They need an application. They want to automate their processes that they already have. And then what I did was, because at the time I got introduced to this Power Platform technology, which Mr. Ndlovu also mentioned, is that I took that and I was like, Power Platform, I don't know anything about this, but what I'll do is I'll just go learn it and do this project, because at the end of the day, someone trusted me with the responsibility because they could see the potential of what I could bring out of it. So I took it upon myself to actually go learn this new technology. While learning, I was building this project because obviously deadlines for Enactus DUT, they needed the app quite quickly because they needed to do Enactus things. So we built the application, we presented it to Enactus DUT, they loved it, we made it better using the Power Platform. And then from there was another big project that we did with DUT using the Microsoft Power Platform. So that ended up solidifying my path with the Power Platform, because obviously I got into university, I was doing applications development, learning C# and .NET, and learning other programming languages like Java. But at the end of the day, my path was more focused on what I was learning on the side than what I was learning during my academic years. So that solidified my path. And then what I did after that was, with the program, I was just doing all of these different events, trying to teach people, upskill people with the Microsoft Power Platform, showing them how they can actually build all these different applications, different solutions using the Power Platform, making their lives much more easier, because most of the time we want our lives to be actually more easier, and it was more inclusive of everyone else. So the Power Platform is a set of 4 products, which is the Microsoft Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents, which allow you to build solutions without writing any code or using less code. Obviously, even if you're a programmer, you're still obliged, or you can still be able to use this Power Platform to build your own solutions. So you can use your pro development skills. The reason why we have the Power Platform at Microsoft is because we are trying to be inclusive of everyone. That means anyone who has an IT background can build solutions. Anyone who doesn't have an IT background can build solutions. So people from HR, finances, or business management courses, something like that. So obviously, I solidified my path, did all of these different events, and then what then happened was that subconsciously, I didn't think that I was doing everything else with what I actually learned from Mr. Ndlovu, but subconsciously I was doing everything that I learned from Mr. Ndlovu. So what do I mean by saying that? Is that after following him around all over the place, like during 2018, going to these different events, being exposed to these different people, being uncomfortable in positions where I have to network with people, but at the end of the day, I have to network with people, I ended up having those skills subconsciously. So that ended up forcing me to actually do things with my peers now, using what I learned from Mr. Ndlovu, and just organizing things, organizing events with my friends, starting up an initiative called Inspire SA. So obviously that initiative was an idea from a close friend of mine who is a student at DUT, starting that initiative, which is more of a YouTube channel teaching everything from artificial intelligence to Azure and cloud computing and C# and .NET to Microsoft Power Platform, and to showing women in tech. Obviously, we would get guests that are already women in tech and are successful onto the show to share the experiences, to share the knowledge with the females of the audience and everyone else, obviously, not just females. So that initiative was started. Through that initiative, that's when I started picking up that, okay, now I understand all of the things that I was doing with Mr. Ndlovu started to rub off and started to show themselves when I had to be put in positions where we had to start up an initiative, manage that initiative. Also, again, I have to network with other people. So besides all of this tech talk that I have right now, is that I also was able to travel to Thailand to the United Nations Peace Summit. And from that Peace Summit, it did not just come just because I was a student at DUT, but it came from being engaged and involved with Mr. Ndlovu, doing all of these different events, inspiring all of the students within the university. So it's more of taking up leadership positions. So when I got to Thailand, obviously we attended the conference, but after that, the product that came from that is an organization called Art Peace. So it's a non-profit organization. It's more focused on trying to help bring peace within the world and help refugees all over the world. But currently, we're still focused on Thailand students. So trying to expose them, just like how Mr. Ndlovu and everyone else in this meeting is trying to expose you to the technologies, to the different kinds of knowledge, different kinds of education that is out there. That's what we did, and we still do at Art Peace. So that is, in a nutshell, my journey before I joined Microsoft. Then, from all of these different kinds of experiences that I got from Mr. Ndlovu, was that I ended up saying to myself, okay, I understand, and I'm doing all of these different projects with Mr. Ndlovu, and I'm using the Microsoft Power Platform, and I have all of these leadership skills, even though I did not intend to end up being a leader. All of these things, how can I use them to my advantage in terms of putting myself out there, engaging in terms of getting a job opportunity, because now I'm graduating and I need a job. And we know the job market within our country is not really good. So I ended up being able to go to a job interview for the Microsoft Power Platform. So there's a local company here in South Africa that is using the Power Platform, I think here in Durban as well. So I ended up going to that company, I got interviewed by them, and they were asking all these different kinds of questions. So now in the conversation, it was not more on the questions that they had for me, like technical questions in terms of, oh, if we give you this scenario, what can you do to solve the problem? What ended up happening was that when they asked me to talk about myself, when I started mentioning all of these different initiatives, so for an example, the hackathons we did with Mr. Ndlovu, the events we did with Mr. Ndlovu, the Inspire SA YouTube channel, and also the applications that Mr. Ndlovu and I built using the Microsoft Power Platform, that ended up nullifying all of those different technical questions that they had, and I was able to get into the job. So obviously, when you start to gain a new skill, you have to make sure that you sharpen yourself, and then from there you will see the results when you are trying to get a job. So from that, obviously, I spent a few months within that company. And then after that, I applied for a job at Microsoft, and I was able to get into Microsoft because of these different things that I was doing, the different events, the hackathons, talking about the Power Platform, advocating for it. And one thing I think I forgot to mention is that through these leadership positions or leadership skills that I got from Mr. Ndlovu would then ask me to be uncomfortable again by presenting at the different events him and I and the rest of the team would then be able to organize. So from there, I got an opportunity to actually be able to speak at international conferences. So I'm not too sure if everyone is familiar with those conferences. For an example, the Microsoft Build conference, also the Microsoft Ignite. So at the time when I was presenting at these events, I was still a student. I got the opportunity to present to those international conferences from Microsoft because of the skills I gained with the journey I had with Mr. Ndlovu. So obviously that is my journey with Mr. Ndlovu and my journey entirely as myself. But what I would like to advise you guys on is obviously going out there, finding knowledge. Obviously, that is a vague statement, finding knowledge. What kind of knowledge? I can't point you into a specific direction because at the end of the day, what ends up happening is that people will say, "Oh, Someleze said this. He said, let me do this, but it's not working out for me." But a suggestion would be to embrace the different technologies that are out there at your disposal and the different kinds of information that is out there. So right now, I think I'm going to try to share my screen to show you just two platforms where you would be able to get the knowledge that you need, and then after that you can be able to get certified, because also Microsoft certifications help you stand out in the crowd whenever you are applying for a job. That is what I've been taught through the experience I've had with Mr. Ndlovu, and also I've been taught through the experience we had with one lecturer that we had in our university years. So what I would advise you on, as much as I'm saying that I don't want to point you in the in the specific direction, I would like for you guys to try using the Microsoft Power Platform. The reason is because the Microsoft Power Platform in our country is not really adopted by a lot of people. Why? Because a lot of developers out there look down upon the Power Platform because they think it's just drag and drop. They think it's just low code, whereas you can build amazing solutions, amazing applications for yourself and for any business that you would be partnered with. For an example, the project that Mr. Ndlovu and I did I was still a student, he was still a student when we did that project using the Power Platform. We used the resources that were at our disposal, which is we used our Microsoft accounts, built the application, presented it to DUT. DUT loved it. And then after that, we ended up being able to move on with our lives and get more recognition because of that. And then after that, everything was history. So what you see on the screen is a page where um, we have resources where you are able to actually go and sign up. So in this case, whenever you want to kickstart your tech career with Microsoft certification, is that normally we say as people who come and speak to everyone else and say, go get certified. But what ends up happening is that as much as we want you to get certified and you say, okay, I want to get certified, the only problem that you come across is money. You have to buy this certification exam vouchers. So what Microsoft did with their partner, the Cloud Ready Skills partner, is that, okay, if you are a student at a recognized university, what you can do is come to this specific site and then you'd be able to sign up. So obviously you would use Microsoft Learn, and then you'd need to sign up for the Cloud Ready Skills platform, where it'll give you all the different kinds of certifications that are available to you. So what I mean by that is that after you've signed up for this platform, what happens is that you would use your student email, and then it'll provide you with, if I'm not mistaken, 15 or 10 certifications that are free. So you are able to get certified for free using this specific platform. So why am I saying this? How are you getting certified? You're not getting certified over the advanced certifications, but you are getting certified with the fundamental certification. So I don't know if any of you guys have heard of the Power Platform Fundamentals or the Azure Fundamentals, which is more popular with a lot of people, the AI Fundamentals, the Microsoft Teams fundamentals, Microsoft Security fundamentals. So as a student, you'd be able to gain all of those certifications for free as long as you are able to, like for an example, you are able to sign up in this platform. So if you can see on the screen, obviously it shows you all the different kinds of exams that you have at your disposal, which are the Azure fundamentals, the Microsoft Azure Data Fundamentals, where you are able to get certified and you get certifications for free. Obviously, I'm talking about certifications and you would get them for free, but obviously you need the knowledge, you need the content, you need to understand how to actually get to that point. So how would you get to that point? You would go to Microsoft Learn, which these links are stuff that I'm going to share with Dr. Mutanga, and then he will share with everyone because for some reason, I don't have access to the chat. I was going to paste all of these links there. So you would need to use Microsoft Learn. I don't know if you've heard about Microsoft Learn. So Microsoft Learn is this big pool of knowledge where you are able to learn literally almost everything and anything that you want to learn. So if you want to sharpen your C# skills, you can go through a learning path. So they have on Microsoft Learn a learning different kinds of learning paths. So learning paths are more like courses and they have modules within them. But obviously those courses do not take up 3 years to do. They take about 3 hours, 2 hours, 8 hours to do so that you can be able to gain the knowledge that you need. And then afterwards, if you feel confident enough, what happens is that you are able to go and write certifications. But my advice to you guys is that if you get to Microsoft Learn, you would then just go straight to all of those different certifications or certification exams that are listed here. Start learning for them. So each certification exam that you see on this list has a learning path. So start doing the learning paths for that. And then after you are done, you then go get certified. So obviously I will share a document on steps on either Fanny or me will share a document that has steps on how to sign up on this platform so that you can be able to get your free certification exam vouchers for free. You will see the exam vouchers listed for you. So obviously this is more on just signing up, getting into the platform, then being able to be certified. If you want a centralized place where you are able to actually get all of these different kinds of information, sessions, different kinds of certifications, and you don't know where to start, and obviously Someleze has spoke about everything, but everything else is like all over the place and it's not centralized, and you want a specific place to go to, there is Student Hub on Microsoft Learn. So Student Hub on Microsoft Learn obviously has all of the different things that you would need. So for an example, if you want to talk about GitHub, you would have this GitHub repo for Intro to Tech Skills. So we have within Microsoft Build, which is starting tomorrow, the sessions that are on Intro to Tech Skills. So obviously, as much as we are already IT students, what I would normally say is that you don't know anything. That's the first rule. Just go into something, even if you know something, you could potentially see it being done differently and more efficiently than what you already know, or what you already know is being done efficiently and differently, but it pays to actually know how to actually do everything else differently. And then obviously when you want to skill up, so you see on the screen, there's introduction to programming. It has everything or every single information that you need about programming. You can sharpen your programming skills. You can also learn about Git. So obviously in our industry, the IT industry, GitHub and Git are very important because they are able to help us with version control whenever we are working with teams on different kinds of projects. So this would be Git for beginners. You can use Git for beginners. And if you want to venture into new programming languages like Python, you can go to Python for beginners, web development for beginners, and you can find their Power Apps fundamentals. So it will take you to the Power Platform fundamentals learning path, and you'll be able to learn everything else about the Microsoft Power Platform. Again, what's in it for you is that at the end of each learning path that you would learn here is what I spoke about just earlier on, certifications. Getting certified is very important for you so that you can be able to stand out from the crowd. And then from there, what Fanny Ndlovu had actually advised me in 2018, I remember I was laughing about it just a few days ago, is to have a LinkedIn profile. Because on a LinkedIn profile, that is where most recruiters would actually find you. They will look at your profile. So on your profile, you are on LinkedIn, you are just posting each and every single thing that you are currently doing or involved in. So if you're involved in a hackathon, you can post about the hackathon that you are participating in, even if you didn't win in the hackathon, but obviously it pays to bring to the public that you are actually participating in these things. And if you get certified, obviously, for an example, using this platform, you get certifications. You can put your certifications on LinkedIn so that recruiters can be able to see that you are getting certified. They're not gonna call you and ask you, so which certifications do you have? Your LinkedIn profile will speak for you and say, these are the different kinds of certifications. So I don't know if I can open up my LinkedIn. So I have a few certifications as well. Not a lot. I have to brush up on my skills, obviously, just like everyone else needs to. So if I go on my profile, so I can just quickly show you. If I go to my profile and scroll to the bottom, you'll see license and certifications. So currently, these are the certifications that I have. I have 5 certifications. I have the Power Platform Fundamental certification, which helped me get my first job. I also have the Power Platform Developer Associate. So that's like 3 levels up of the certifications for the Power Platform and all of the different other certifications. So the recruiters will see that you are getting certified, you are constantly learning. That's why I'm saying if you have a LinkedIn profile, that's where you're going to put your certifications, because they're not going to call you and ask you. If you don't mention it in your LinkedIn profile, they won't know, and you might lose up a chance to actually to get a job. And then from there, obviously, like I said to you, you need to post, you need to have an activity within the LinkedIn profile so that you can be able to stand out from the crowd instead of just having your CV talking for you. You have your CV, your LinkedIn profile, they see all of the different activities that you're doing. One key thing that Funny taught me when I was still a student, I think it was in 2018, we were doing a hackathon with, if I'm not mistaken, Here Technologies. So that's for Maps Technologies. We spoke about writing a blog on what we were doing. So writing blogs and documenting everything that you are learning. So for an example, if I come to you, I deliver a session about the Microsoft Power Platform, or I think previously a speaker last night was talking about the Microsoft Power Apps or Power Platform. If I do a session with you guys, and then from there, you take that knowledge and you try to apply it for yourself, you build, even if it's a simple basic app with Power Apps or a simple Power Automate flow, you then write a blog on the different steps and explaining what steps you took when you were building that Power Automate flow, and then you publish that blog. It actually puts you at a better advantage than a person who doesn't document stuff. Why? I'm saying this because they will see whenever they ask you, because normally what I've seen is that whenever they ask you to apply for a job or when you apply for a job, they ask for any blogs or links that you've done in the past. And if they are able to read those blogs, and you can also mention your blogs on your LinkedIn profile, they will actually see that you are busy getting knowledge, getting upskilled, and you're passionate about what you're trying to do. So that's another part of the advice that I have for you. And then the last advice would be for you to be able to get into the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program, where you are able to connect with other student ambassadors from the different parts of the world. So the Student Ambassadors program helps you to actually learn the different kinds of technologies that are out there, from low code, which is Power Platform, and to pro development, which is your Azure and .NET, and AI, machine learning, deep learning, everything that you want to learn, you would find within the program. So I encourage you guys to actually apply for the program, because the numbers within our country are very low. I think we're about 36 student ambassadors within our country, and I would like to see more South Africans, more people from our communities applying for that program and being part of that program so that they can be able to put themselves to stand out there. So the program also helps you as well to be a person who stands out from the crowd, because like I said, when I got my first job, the thing they asked me about was that we see that you are part of this Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program, so we can see that you are good with working with people, and you are good with learning new information and applying that knowledge to upskill other people, which also helped me get this job that I have within Microsoft as well. Because cloud advocacy is the professional level of being a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. Basically, that's what it is. So if you are part of the program, you will be able to you'll be able to gain all of these different skills, and you'll be able to gain the necessary advantage for you to actually get a job. I'm not just saying this because I want you guys to join the program. I'm saying this because of the experience I have and the experience I'm pretty sure the speaker that spoke yesterday, which is Lebo Ngobo, has as well, because being part of the program, he was part of the program, and being part of that program helped him to get where he's at in his life currently. So without wasting any more time, that is basically what I have for you currently in store. But I do encourage you to go over to the student and training certification platform, which I just showed you earlier on. Do those free certifications, get all of the different kinds of fundamental certifications, so that you can be able to stand out in the crowd. You can have something that supports your qualification when you graduate. Even if you haven't graduated and you're getting into an internship, they will be more eager to take you because they can see you have all of these different kinds of certifications, Microsoft certifications. They see that you have the skills, they see that you have the urge to learn more. So I encourage you and urge you. I will share the links with Dr. Mutanga, and then after that, he will share it with you guys.
No, thanks a lot. Such an inspiring story, and some of the stuff that we actually didn't know here at MUT, especially the issue of the free Microsoft certifications that my students can get. I wasn't even aware of those things, and those are some of the things that I would want to incorporate in my own curriculum, so to speak. I would open the platform for a couple of questions from students. But before the students ask, I actually have a question for you, right? You said you certified for the Power Platform when you're still a student, correct?
Yes.
I'd want to know, just from out of curiosity and from a student perspective, how long did it take you to do the Power Platform certification?
It didn't take me long, actually. So I was actually studying and preparing with Mr. Ndlovu. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was last year, 2021, beginning of the year. I was still a student at the time. Didn't have any job at that time. So I think it took us we gave each other about a week or two to go through the Microsoft learning path that we have for the Power Platform. So it took us a week to just go through the learning path. So I think, let me just quickly share my screen so that I can show you how it looks like.
Right, and it is through that qualification that's landed you the job that you have in London.
So the certification being part of the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors program, and also being involved in the Inspire SA YouTube channel, where we are talking about the Microsoft Power Platform and other technologies, and also doing all of the other different events and building the project with Mr. Ndlovu. Those 5 key things helped me to get the job, because obviously when I was going through the interview, I had to talk about all of these different kinds of things. But the certification one, they didn't really touch on it, because they said, "Oh, we see that you're certified," which is really a good thing for us, because we can see that you are using the basically the knowledge that is at your disposal, and you are just going out there and getting certified. So it's part of the things that got me the job in London. So this is the PL900 Microsoft Power Platform's Fundamentals Learning Path. So this has 10 modules. It has 10 modules in it, where you just go through all of these different kinds of modules. They have introduction to Microsoft Power Platform, the introduction to Dataverse, introduction to Power Apps. So you go through all of these different modules, and then once you are done, you are able to get to go and write the certification. So it took us about a week or two, and then we went to write the certification exam.
All right, thank you. Because before I ask my second question, I would.
Doc, can I
Yes.
add there? So what happened before even we wrote certificate, we were already involved developing things. So that's why it took about a week and two to prepare because we were already engaging on those technologies. It's the same as if someone want to write a certificate about C# and is in the third year, so it will be much easier. So the advice is if a person passionate about a particular, let's say Azure, start to experiment before you write because it just a structured knowledge, but it took that less time because we're already engaging with the technology.
Okay, all right, fine. No, I get it. Okay, students, you can pose your own questions. We can write on the chart. You can. Okay, there is Sianda. Sianda, come in.
Yes, sir. Can I ask a question?
Yes, Sianda.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Before, can you share the link to the learning material? The page where you show where you log in as a student to get access to the courses.
I'll share it with Dr. Muntanga, and then he will share it
Do you want
with
to
you.
share it now on the screen?
No, I would like to get a link.
Okay, he's going to share with me, and I'm going to forward it to everybody. Just that from where he is now, because he's a guest on our platform, he can't access the chat.
Okay. Yeah. My question is there a difference between Microsoft Azure and AWS?
Okay, so technically those are more of a what's the saying? Birds of the same feather flock together. So technically Microsoft Azure and AWS, they are technically the same thing, but different. What do I mean? They are both cloud platforms, so you are able to produce solutions that are using the cloud, using both platforms, but they're different because of the services that they offer within those cloud platforms. So for an example, I can speak for Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure, there are different things that you can do within on Microsoft Azure. You can build solutions that use cognitive services, facial recognition, AI, machine learning, deep learning, Power Platform, um, pro code applications like building web applications. If you are building like a website or you're building a mobile application, but you need a database that is on Azure, you can do that. I think even on Azure, on AWS, but there are different processes or different services that they offer and how they offer them. So obviously it varies from company to company. Just like for an example, if I can speak about the Google Cloud Platform, since I have experience with it, is that the Google Cloud Platform also has the you can build AI chatbots within the Google Cloud Platform, and you can build AI chatbots using Microsoft Azure. But how you build them and what services are available to you is different. So the experience with Google Cloud Platform was a bit too much for me. It was using Dialogflow, and then on Microsoft Azure, it was just easy, and I was just cruising through it when I was doing it. I was still a student at the time. I'm not saying this because I'm a Microsoft employee. I'm saying this based on experience when I was still a student, because Dialogflow was a bit confusing in a sense. It was not easy to use. And then when I was using Microsoft Azure and its bot services, it was just easy to use. We even wrote, I think Mr. Ndlovu wrote an article on how to build a chatbot using Microsoft Azure, a chatbot using Dialogflow, which is from Google Cloud. So they are the same thing, which is cloud platforms, but they're different based on the services that they offer.
Oh, another thing is, would you suggest someone to do all of them, or maybe just stick to a single one? Maybe Azure only.
Okay, so I wouldn't say just stick to one. Why am I saying this? Because if I say stick to one, and then for an example, you end up you end up applying for a job, but you don't get a job at Microsoft. And then now you want to apply for a job at Google, or you want to apply for a job at AWS. And then they ask you about AWS technologies, and you know nothing about it. You only know Azure. It could put you at a disadvantage. So what I could technically say to you is to just learn a little bit of each and every one, and then if you have a preference, like the one that you prefer the most, that you can build solutions with, then you can expand your knowledge on that one, because obviously if you use Microsoft Azure to build your solutions, to build your applications, deploy your applications on it, then obviously it will come naturally to you. Obviously, using Microsoft Azure as well has a small advantage, because if you apply for a job at AWS, they will still ask you to do, you will still need to, like, you still need to do certifications from AWS. So cloud certifications, I think one of them is AWS Cloud Practitioner certification, so that you'll be able to get, like, for an example, a job at AWS. I don't know if Fanny has like a different kind of advice to that.
So yeah, so for you, what you need, like what Someleze did, it's he focused on the technology. There are one you can learn. So he even did what we call Amazon Honey Code, and now he's on Power Platform. So those are the low code technology. So instead of focusing on the product, yes, you can focus on the product, but look at the technology that you want to do. It's either you want to do the machine learning, focus the passion on your machine learning. If you want the data, you love data, focus on data engineering or data analytics. So both the AWS and the Amazon, they all got all those services. But if you have a passionate around technology, you can be easily accommodated, because it's just wording. The way you deploy on AWS, they might change. You use, it's just different language, but they are the same. So once you are passionate, focus on one technology that you want to do. Like Mr. Diko now, he's a low code. He's passionate about low code, and he know what is Amazon Honey Code, which is the competitor of a Power Platform of Microsoft. So in that way, it makes your journey much easier if you focus on the technology that you love. Then all these others are platforms that apply your technology.
Right. Can I just add to that, gentlemen? The question you asked, Sianda, is the same as saying, should I learn C# and not Java? They're all programming languages. They're just different, just coming from two different people who made them, so to speak, right? And my philosophy is always, for anyone who is young, right? By young, I mean if you are still less than 30 years old, learn whatever you can get on the way. This is not the time. Like you see that Mr. Diko is now at Microsoft. 2-3 years down the line, he can tell us that he's now in the US with Google. It happens. So it doesn't mean that when he's at Microsoft now, he only learns Microsoft products. He can even certify in Google products, in AWS products. And 2-3 years down the line, he's going to tell you, no, guys, I've changed. I'm now based in India, and I'm now working for Google in India. So as long as you are young, do not define your career yet. To say, you know what, all I'm going to do is Microsoft stuff, and I'm done. That's it. Things change, technologies change. When we were still growing up, everyone, 99% of people were using Nokia cell phones. Where is Nokia now? Right? And at some point, around 2013, 2011, there was a hype of BlackBerry. And people were even building apps for BlackBerry. Where is BlackBerry now? So just imagine if the person, someone who was a student, then let's say, you know what, I'm just going to concentrate on building the BlackBerry apps and stuff like that, and I'm not going to do anything else. Then Android came in. So as long as you're still less than 30 years old, you learn each and everything that comes your way. I can rest assured you, look at what Mr. Diko has, right? He, as of last year, was still a student, but he has got 5 certifications. Try to project how many certifications he's going to have 5 years from now.
maybe it's going to have 30. You know, so please learn as much as you can. That's what I can say. Let me just take another question from the chat here from Zamo. Zamo says, can you tell us about the time when you resolved a complex issue with Mr. Love? And how did you manage to stay informed of cloud developments, especially during the pandemic era? Yeah, that's quite a philosophical question.
Funny knows the story more. We had issues last year when we were building that application, Mr. Love. So we obviously, like I was talking this entire time, we were using the Microsoft Power Platform to actually build the application. So at the time when we were trying to solve, so we built the application, presented it to DUT at the end of 2020. And then in 2021, obviously DUT adopted the application. They loved it. Then obviously, because as much as a lot of people, because I'm assuming that a lot of people are doing IT. So as much as we know when we're learning that the customer always try in a sense to change requirements for the application. So that's what happened to us, you know, requirements being updated, the client saying, oh no, can I do this? I need this, I want this. So now it takes away from the thing that you already built. They want something different, or they want to change up stuff. So there wasn't really an easy way of doing all of the different requirements that were new to us at the time. So I had to go down a rabbit hole, try to figure out what's going on, how to implement this with Power Platform. I remember Mr. Ndlovu was so stressed, asking about how we're going to do this. They want a lot of things. So what the fun part was, what we did was I went down the rabbit hole to do that through the Power Platform, and Mr. Ndlovu then ended up going on his research journey where he was trying to understand on how we can implement something similar using code. And then from there, when we were solving the problem, we ended up combining the two different technologies. So we combined low code with pro code. So we combined Microsoft Power Platform with C# and .NET. So what we did was obviously use C# and .NET to solve one part of the problem, and then we use Microsoft Power Platform to solve another part of the problem. So we use the two different technologies together so that we can be able to present something to DUT. So it was a complex issue. I can't really go into detail about it because obviously, you know, non-disclosure stuff, but obviously it was very complex. We had to actually bring two technologies together to actually solve the problem. I wasn't going to be able to solve it using the Microsoft Power Platform only, because it was just going to solve it to a certain extent and then it will cause more problems. But because Mr. Ndlovu came with C# and .NET and then we combined the two, we're able to solve the problem entirely.
Right, fine. Thank you. There's another question from Kwenza, but I seem not to understand what he means. That he's saying, what's the name of the program? I think it's a Microsoft.
Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors Program.
Okay. Kwenza, is that what you wanted him to address?
Yes, sir.
All right, fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Doc, I've sent you the link so that you can drop them in a chat.
Okay, you sent it via
Email. The email.
Email.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, fine. I'm just going to open I will open my email and send and attach that to the chat. Okay, students, you can still ask some more questions. But I have one other question, right? Part of the audience here, right, that we have right now, are my former students.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it means they no longer have a student number, so they cannot be verified as students. And these guys are keen on exploring Microsoft-based qualifications as well, because and So how can they be helped? Or yeah, how can they be helped? Or if ever there's a obviously there's an option to pay. How much does it cost for the fundamental
So the certifications currently for, I think for fundamentals, they range on, I think, $99 if I'm not mistaken.
okay, fantastic. No, they have money, so they can afford that one. $99, that gives you around 1,500 to 1,600 rand.
Yeah.
That should be fantastic.
Yeah,
But then it also means that in terms of the reading material, they won't be able to access the reading material because they don't have.
No. That's not the case. It's just the certification or the certification exam voucher that they need to buy. But obviously, the learning material, they can be able to access it. So how can they do that is that they can use their personal email to just sign into Microsoft Learn, because Microsoft Learn is available even if you sign in, you don't sign in, it's still the same. But for me, I normally advise people to use an account to sign in so that can keep track of their progress when they are doing learning paths. So it will show them. So I don't know if you saw on mine, it will show them on which ones are completed and how much have I completed from that. It gives you points.
So
like
what is needed there is your student email address.
So if you want to go into Microsoft Learn, you don't need your student email address. You can still use, I think you can still use your personal email address if you want to.
Okay, but for the
to add there, Doc, to add there, so it's better to, because now you will be learning to write certificate. It's better to create a new email, which is Hotmail or the Outlook email, a personal one. Don't use student because sometimes your previous, it might be, they need to recreate, use that to learn, because when you write a certificate, you have to create a certificate profile.
Exactly.
So better to create the email, because if you can try to put your Gmail, there is complication now when they have to display your certificate. So the advice is create a new account using Hotmail or Outlook. Then that will be personal use to learn it. It's free. Then when you write certificate, you will use that account.
Okay, right. Fantastic. Right. Students, are there any other questions? You can just unmute if you do have questions, please. Okay, okay. It looks as if we don't have any other questions. And in any case, I think our time. Okay, there is one. There's a hand. Who is it? Nkosi, you can unmute and ask.
Yes, thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to say how much I appreciate this event, both to our lecturer, Dr. Mutanga, and the guest that we have. I'm really inspired by your story. It's really nice to see someone who comes from South Africa, with similar backgrounds. I also did CAT, so my question is around the situation which we are in. We, unfortunately, most of us got into 2020 in the midst of the pandemic. So a lot of events, a lot of competitions, which were face to face, were postponed, and we couldn't attend them. So I just wanted to ask: are there any events that are maybe opening up right now that we can attend? Maybe competitions, face to face or online, as we are soon to go to internships, and so a lot of our times will be dedicated to that. But for now, are there any events and competition that we can attend to further our skills once we've learned through the platforms that you have recommended?
Okay, so thanks for that question. So that's a very wonderful question. So currently, with this pandemic thing, which is really an issue. So currently, what we are doing currently, for me as a client advocate, I'm currently going to the event that's in London. So that's it's only just for people in London, but there is Microsoft Build that is happening tomorrow, starting from tomorrow 5 p.m. till Thursday, which is the 26th. So on Microsoft Build, they are talking about different kinds of technologies. So the most interesting one that would be for you guys is like intro to tech skills, or if you are really comfortable with the knowledge that you already have with the programming skills that you have, then you can watch any other sessions. So on Microsoft Build, you can just attend sessions there. So it's a virtual event where you can just listen on the different sessions that are there. They teach you about the different kinds of technologies and skills that you can use. One of the sessions that I have is talking about C# and .NET and deploying applications onto Microsoft Azure, and also building web APIs, which is writing like few lines of code instead of writing this big chunk of code. So that's one of the sessions that I can say you can attend. So again, I'll try to share the link with Dr. Mutanga, or I'll share it with Fanny so that he can send it to him. That's one of the events that you guys can attend. Then what I would advise you on now, not that I'm trying to promote anything, you can go to Inspire SA YouTube channel. On that YouTube channel, it started last year. And when it started last year, it was because we wanted to upskill students in South Africa mostly. That was the reason why we started Inspire SA with a close friend of mine. So if you go to Inspire SA, even though we have videos from previous days or previous months, you can learn skills from zero to hero. So what do I mean by that? You can have skills from beginner level to like advanced level if you want to. So the Inspire SA YouTube channel starts from, it covers AI, which is on AI Tuesdays. It covers Women in Tech Wednesdays. It covers Power Thursdays, and it covers Azure and .NET Fridays. So if you want to focus on Azure and .NET, you can watch the ones that say Azure and .NET Fridays. And if you want to dwell into the Power Platform, you can watch Power Thursdays. Then you can watch AI Tuesdays if you want to learn more about AI. So that's the second one. Then the third one is I will allow Mr. Ndlovu to actually organize something sometime soon. I don't know when, but to organize something where we can be able to have a session and then we can just upskill each other, so that you can see the different kinds of skills and different kinds of knowledge that you can actually gain.
Yeah. So what you can do, Doc, if they aim to allow physical events, we can try to organize something.
Yeah, no, we do allow physical events now, so we can do that. Not a problem.
Perfect.
Okay. And then the last part is, I know it's still in the planning stage, but one of my other friends as well is also organizing something called AI gaming. It's an AI gaming event, but I'm not too sure about like the details about it. Either is it restricted to a specific university, or is it like available for everyone that's within the vicinity? So it's an AI gaming event. That AI gaming event, you just join and sign up for the AI gaming event, and then you write code. I think it's Python, if I'm not mistaken. You write code for your game to compete with other people's games. So that game is more on teaching you how to have artificial intelligence and cloud computing skills, because you need your game that you provide or that you build to use cognitive services or custom vision so that it can be able to flip tiles. So you know how when we play games, when we have to match certain tiles on a game. So if you see a monkey, you need to flip another tile to show another monkey, and then you do the same thing for the other tiles. So in the AI gaming event, you develop your own code that will flip the tiles, and then it will play against other people's code, and then it'll obviously pick a winner in that round, and then goes to the second round, and then goes to the finals. And then on the finals, the winners of the different regions will come together. Even during Microsoft Build, there's an AI gaming event for everyone in different regions. So I would actually advise you guys to actually take part of that, where you'd see and try to build your own code or your own game that will compete with people's code that are from, for an example, America, people from the United Kingdom, and people from either the United Arab Emirates, so the UAE, or someone from either Nigeria or Kenya, because we have 4 different regions for the AI gaming event, and then you can be able to take part for your region. And I would like to see if you guys can actually play and one of you becomes the winner for our region and go compete with other winners from these different 4 regions as well. So that's another thing that is also on the plate. So it's 2 AI gaming events. One is from the friend that is going to be organizing for South Africa or for Durban, if I'm not mistaken. Then the other one is the one that is worldwide, that is being run during Bold. So that will be during this week.
Okay. No, thank you. I hope students are listening, and I think at some point we need to also put up a team and compete in some of these competitions as well. There's one question coming from Spelele. I just want to know from our 2 guests as to which programming languages are more powerful now and will be in future for us to, so that we can start learning on the side.
Okay, so I don't know if Fanny dropped off the call, but I can try to take this one off the plate. So normally the most popular ones that I can remember is, sorry, it's Python for data and data analytics. So it's Python, it's React, if I'm not mistaken. It's Python, React, and Java, if I'm not mistaken. So those like basically are the ones that you can actually try to focus on: Python, Java, React, and also I think, if I'm not mistaken, Angular. So if you try to, Angular is more on front end development and React as well. So you can focus on those, and then Python is more on data analytics. So Python is a bit flexible than the other programming languages. So you can focus on those, but don't limit yourself to popular programming languages, because at the end of the day, what companies are looking for, um they are looking for problem solvers, as much as how proficient you are in programming languages, but mostly they're looking for the skill where you are a problem solver and you'll be able to just be conducive and be interactive and involved in building solutions in the different kinds of languages or platform that they are using within their company.
No, thank you very much for that one. And I do concur with you with regards to Python. It's quite a powerful language and it's becoming very popular. When I read about Python, let me say 2 years, 1 year ago, somewhere, not 2 years ago, let me say 2 years ago, when the pandemic started, I just said to myself, you know what? During the pandemic, the first lockdown, I'm going to do Python. So now I've been stuck with Python. No, I think I write Python code almost on a daily basis. You know, I've learned artificial intelligence by myself. I started doing data analytics, AI, data science, machine learning. All self-taught when the pandemic started. And now the knowledge that I've gained, you know, I've done quite a lot of projects, published a lot of research papers that are around the issue for the area of machine learning and artificial intelligence, just from reading on my own during the pandemic. Python, I think, is one of the best. There's also another question. Who is it? You can just unmute. Who is it again? Let me just check. Okay, Ntakaso first, then Ayanda next.
Okay. Thank you to our guest for such an informative session. On the question regarding the programming languages that are most prevalent, I just wanted to know, there's this new language that has been going around.
Ntakaso, we lost you there.
Yes, we lost her. I thought that was me. I thought I lost you guys.
Ntakaso, are you still there? No, somehow she's disconnected. Okay. Ntakaso, are you still there? All right. While it's waiting for Ntakaso to sort out the technical issues there, I'll move on to Ayanda.
Hello.
Okay, Ntakaso is back. We lost you, Ntakaso. Can you start your question again?
Sorry about that. I got disconnected. Okay, I had a question regarding the Golang or Go programming language that Google is using. So would you then advise us to learn more about the language or know how to program with this language, since some companies are actually starting to use it?
If a lot of companies are actually starting to use it, or obviously you said some, you can not just only, so what I do when it comes to learning, I'm not doing it because a specific company is using a specific language, but I'm doing it to better my skills, my programming skills. So I would advise you to actually learn it. Like if you find it interesting, because as much as companies are using those different kinds of technologies, if you yourself as an individual that's learning the programming language do not find it interesting, the learning journey for you is not going to be easy. It's going to be like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, let's say for an example, if you can't figure out how to do something using that language, you'll end up, in a sense, easily giving up, or end up finding yourself questioning yourself in terms of, why am I actually doing this really? And maybe your skills would not peak as much as they would if you were more interested in the programming language. So mostly, first, you need to be interested in that language itself, then you can learn it. So my advice is for you to just be interested in the learning in learning that programming language, and then you can do that programming language. As much as companies are using it now, as much as they are using it now, you're the one who has the power. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you are really interested in the programming language and you learn about it, whether or not the companies are using it, what you build is your power. So once you build projects using that programming language, obviously those companies are using the programming language, but maybe they have a specific way of doing things. And then when they see the different kinds of projects that you've built with that programming language, and they see that it's a bit different from what they are used to, then that's when they actually, it'll make you more attractive to them. But again, to learn the language, you need to be interested in the language. To learn the technology, you need to be interested in the technology. Because as much as, like for an example, as much as Google has released their Golang language, most of the time, their most proficient one or the most prominent one is Flutter. So Flutter is very famous and popular with everyone else, with every other developer, because it's so much easier to use and so much fun to actually build applications using Flutter. So as much as they released Golang, they want to see if people are interested in it. So if you are interested in the programming language, go for it, learn about it, build projects with it, and see what kind of different projects can you build with it, because that's the similar thing I applied to myself. I saw the Power Platform, I got interested in it, I learned about it, I got more interested and intrigued, built different solutions, and then it opened other opportunities of either hosting events, teaching about it, and then open more doors and more doors and more doors for me. So basically, my advice is for you to just be interested in the programming language or technology, then learn it. As much as whatever company is using whichever different technology, because are focused on if you are focused on what the companies are using, it's gonna drive you crazy because there's a lot of different companies that are using different technologies. And then now, let's say for an example, you do not beg that job from the company that uses Golang, and then you see a different company, you want to apply for it, but you see that they're using a different kind of technology. So now you get discouraged. Whereas as much as you used Golang and you were learning about Golang, and then you can apply for the job, and they see what you've built with Golang, they will understand that you have critical thinking skills and you have great programming skills, and then they can take you in. So never do something because a specific company has this kind of technology and they're using it, but build it because you're interested in learning about that technology, in learning about that programming language so that you can be able to produce more fruits, even if you haven't gotten a job or even if you haven't been taken by a company that uses that technology. Because at the end of the day, you are the one that holds the power with the knowledge and with the skills, and you're still volatile where you are able to learn and put more information on top of the information that you already have. I don't know
Right,
if that
thanks for
answered Takaso's question.
that. Okay, there was also another hand. Now I don't see it. I
Yes,
think it was
I
Ayanda. It was
yes.
Ayanda, yes. Ayanda,
Yes.
if you're still there. Okay, Ayanda is not there. Okay, guys, I think we can call it a day for now. I would like to take this opportunity to thank both Mr. Diko and Mr. Ndlovu for availing themselves here and inspiring, motivating my students, showing my students that, IT is big out there, and you just having a diploma is actually not enough. You need to have these professional qualifications. They get you hired, they get you into places. And it is also one, I think, important message that I got here is these certifications, you don't have to wait until you finish your diploma. You have to do it as you are still doing your diploma. That's one thing. And there are some certifications which are actually free for students. So we need to take advantage of those things. Those are some of the takeaway home messages that I see. So I want to challenge my students. I'll see how I can enforce this to make use of these opportunities to do the certifications before they leave. So at least by the time you get your diploma, you also have another armor in your another weapon in your armor to say, you know what, on top of my qualification, I also have this. And probably by the time you start working, you are now working towards the more advanced certification that can even take you a step further. So within probably the first 3 years of working, you've got quite a number of qualifications and your career starts from there. Thanks a lot for opening our minds, our eyes, and our vision. It was quite a visionary and inspiring presentation. I really thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mutanga, for having me. It was a wonderful opportunity to come and inspire others. That's what we normally say to each other with Mr. Ndlovu. As much as we are getting in all of these different opportunities, we also want to enable other people to get to the place where we are, not to just have it all to ourselves.
No, thanks a lot. Okay, students, we'll talk through other platforms. Thanks a lot for availing yourselves and also engaging with our presenters. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bongi.